Have you ever felt like giving up after just one try? Bluey has too. In Season 1, Episode 11, Bike, she falls, gets frustrated, and walks away. But this episode isn't really about learning to ride. It's about what happens in that quiet in-between, when Bluey sits, watches, and notices something that changes everything. What if giving up isn't the end, but the beginning? The episode opens with Bluey trying to ride. She falls over and over. She refuses help.
You sure you don't want some help?
No.
Then finally, she's had enough. "I'm never riding that bike again," she says, dropping her helmet in frustration. But instead of rushing to help, Bandit just sits beside her. And that's when the focus of the episode shifts. We start to notice the other kids in the park. Eat and challenge. Bingo is trying to climb a water fountain to get a drink, but the water keeps stopping just before she reaches it. Bentley is struggling with the monkey bars. She jumps and falls again and again, and Muffin is having a full-blown meltdown trying to put her backpack on. None of these moments are solved by an adult. Instead, the episode just lets them unfold. We, like Bluey, become observers, and what we see is that struggle is everywhere. At first, Bluey comments on what the others are doing out of curiosity, but soon you can tell she's connecting with it on a deeper level. She starts noticing the effort, the frustration, the near misses. She sees parts of herself in all of them, and something begins to shift. On the surface, Bike is a story about learning to ride, but really, it's about how we process failure, and how sometimes watching others try is what gives us the push to try again ourselves. Bluey doesn't ride her bike because someone tells her to. She gets back on because, in seeing others struggle and keep going, she realizes she can do the same. It's not the success of others that motivates her, it's the persistence, the fact that they don't give up. Bentley falls off the monkey bars multiple times before finally climbing the support pole and reaching them. Bingo keeps trying, again and again, even ending up drinking from a puddle in the most Bingo way possible. And Muffin eventually solves her backpack problem by lying on the ground and crawling into it. All of them work through it in their own way, and Bluey sees it all. Without anyone needing to lecture her or guide her, she just gets it. So she gets back up, puts on her helmet, and rides. At its core, Bike is about the relationship between frustration and growth. It shows how stepping away from a challenge doesn't mean abandoning it forever. It can actually create the space we need to approach it differently. Bluey's decision to sit on the bench isn't weakness, it's reflection. She's processing disappointment, and in that pause, she starts to see that struggle isn't personal, it's universal. Watching the other kids, she learns that failure isn't something to avoid or be ashamed of. It's part of how we figure things out. The episode doesn't reward instant success. Instead, it values persistence, creativity, and emotional resilience, the quiet work that happens before we get it right. And when Bluey eventually tries again, it's not just about the bike, it's about mindset. She doesn't ride because she believes she can. She rides because she's willing to try, even if she still might fall. This episode hits especially hard for adults because we've all been there, not just with bikes, but with jobs, relationships, hobbies, and goals. You try something, it doesn't work out, so you step away, and that voice in your head says, "Why can't I just do it straight away?" Just like Bluey. What Bike shows is that giving up for a while isn't a failure. It's part of the process. Sometimes we need a break. Sometimes we need to see that other people are struggling too. And sometimes, watching someone else push through their own challenge reminds us that we still have some fight in us. You don't always have to force yourself to keep going right away, but pay attention to what's happening around you. because inspiration often comes when you least expect it. As adults, we're often expected to be past the stage of learning through failure. We're supposed to be competent, capable, already good at the things we do. But Bike reminds us that this pressure is unrealistic and honestly unfair. Growth doesn't have an age limit. We still hit walls. We still fall off the metaphorical bike. The episode encourages us to reframe our own struggles not as signs we're behind, but as evidence we're still learning. More importantly, it gives us permission to pause. Not everything needs to be pushed through immediately. Sometimes, stepping back and observing, giving yourself space without guilt, is the most mature choice you can make. And just like Bluey, that space often leads to clarity. Not because someone tells us what to do, but because we remember what we're capable of. As adults, we need that reminder too. Progress doesn't always look like movement. Sometimes it starts with stillness. Another important layer here is the way Bandit responds. He doesn't rush in to fix things. He doesn't pressure Bluey to keep trying. He just sits on the bench with her, present, but not interfering. That kind of quiet support is powerful. It shows trust. It says, "I believe you'll figure this out." For parents, or really anyone supporting someone through a hard time, this is a great reminder. Sometimes being there is more important than solving the problem. Letting someone work through things on their own, even if it means watching them fall a few more times, is what builds confidence. Kids learn by doing, but they also learn by feeling. Frustration, disappointment, and eventually pride. When adults hold back and allow space for those emotions, kids build internal tools they'll carry for life. Bandit's patience teaches that guidance isn't always active. It's often quiet, steady belief in a child's ability to figure it out. There's a great moment when Bentley collapses after falling and says, "Why can't I do it straight away?" And Bluey replies, surprised, "Hey, that's what I said?" That's the turning point. Bluey realizes she's not alone. Other kids are feeling the same frustration she felt. They're saying the same words. And if they can keep trying, maybe she can too. Sometimes we need to see ourselves in someone else before we can move forward. Kids don't need perfect role models. They need to see people like them, people who struggle, fall, cry, and get back up. That's what makes the victories feel possible. There's something powerful about realizing you're not the only one struggling. It softens self-judgment and builds empathy. Bluey's shift happens the moment she sees her own frustration mirrored in Bentley. For kids and adults alike, those moments create connection. They remind us that effort, not perfection, is what unites us. And sometimes, just knowing someone else is trying too is enough to help us try again. It's easy to celebrate the ending. Bluey rides her bike. Bentley reaches the monkey bars. Muffin gets her backpack on. Bingo finds her puddle victory. But none of those wins would have happened without all the messy, frustrating parts that came first. This episode isn't about instant success. It's about the space in between, the part where you sit down, feel stuck, and aren't sure what to do next. We all end up on the bench sometimes. And maybe that's okay. Because when you're sitting still and paying attention, you start to notice what matters. That nobody gets it right straight away. That everyone is figuring it out in their own messy, determined way. And that trying again, after failing, is what really counts. Bluey's ride at the end is satisfying, but not because she finally did it. It's satisfying because we saw the full journey, and we know she earned it.